Welcome back to Long Dong Finance. We got a very important year-end video. We got to talk about actions that you need to take at the end of every year in order to make sure that you don't become a massive clown and lose lots of money because you failed to take the appropriate steps with your portfolio. First and foremost, you need to go check your 401k. You need to go check your IRA. Even your taxable accounts, because you have a Robinhood, you know? That's where all your money is, right? You need to check all your accounts and see if you have any uninvested cash. Now, let me tell you a problem that a lot of people have. They think, well, the 401k is just this magic retirement investment, and I just put money into it, and then it just makes me money, you know, with interest or something like that. And they actually fail to pick investments inside of their 401k. It's like, I mean, if it wasn't so sad, it would be comical. But that happens to a lot of people. They will contribute to their 401k, but the money will go into like a default cash account or something. And it's sad because there's been people that have been investing in a 401k their entire lives. They think they're going to have a ton of money in there, and they realize they've only been buying cash or a cash equivalent their entire investing career. You don't want to be in that situation. So check your 401k to make sure you're actually invested where you want to be invested. That's number one. Number two, you got to be very careful with your settings in your 401k and your IRA and your taxable account. And even I've caught this before. I've had this problem before. At the end of the year, you get a lot of dividend and capital gain distributions. Mutual funds, ETFs, they pay out distributions at the end of the year. I mean, obviously there's different times they pay, but usually you get a big one at the end of the year. Now, what a lot of people do is, you know, let's say they buy VT because they're smart and, you know, they don't just buy stuff that goes up a lot, QQQ. And they forget to set their account to auto reinvest. Because when you get a dividend distribution, the price of the asset drops by the amount of the distribution. I don't know if you guys knew that, okay? But that cash that you get, if you just don't reinvest it and you just let it sit there, guess what? That cash is not invested. It's sitting in cash and cash equivalents. So you could think that your entire 401k is invested in your, let's say VT, for example. But actually, every time you get a distribution, it's just sitting there in cash and not getting reinvested. So you need to go into your broker settings if this is what you want to do, obviously. I recommend it personally. You want to go into your broker settings and make sure that it's reinvesting your stuff. And it's pretty easy to see. Like you'll see a deposit in your brokerage account for the amount of the distribution. You'll see the security drop by the amount of the distribution. I know, crazy. And then you'll see a purchase where it basically just rebuys what you received a distribution from. You want to do that, okay? You want to keep reinvesting because a dividend is not extra return, but it is part of total return. And if you don't invest your dividend, if you don't reinvest your dividend, you've basically just taken profits, okay? Which if you're young and you want to invest for 30 years, I don't know why you would do that, okay? So check your freaking brokerage. I guarantee you probably got cash just sitting there from a distribution that you did not reinvest. And that will cost you a lot of freaking money, okay? The next thing is if you have a business, you need to potentially fund your 401k. Now, if you don't have a 401k set up by this point, you're not going to do it, okay? You're not going to have time to do it. But you do have time, or if you already have a 401k in place, and you got a bunch of money sitting in a taxable account, you want to put in the 401k contribution as soon as possible before the end of the year. You want to max out your 401k. Now, I have a 401k at my full-time job, and I have a 401k that I use for my business. And basically, whatever money I could not put into my 401k this year, because I only got excess in July, I'm going to top off inside my my self-employment 401k. Now, you can't just open your own 401k. You have to have a business. And you have to have a business profit to be able to contribute to that 401k. And there's a calculation. It's not easy. You need to go consult a CPA, seriously. But if you open a solo 401k, if you have a profit, you have the ability to contribute to that. And if you have a total contribution limit of, I think, $22,500, if your full-time job 401k isn't maxed out, you can take whatever invested or non-invested cash you have that you don't need until you retire and put it inside your solo 401k. Obviously, there's a lot going on here. But you want to see where you're at in regards to maxing your tax advantage accounts. And if you haven't maxed them yet, you want to start considering, how am I going to max my tax advantage accounts? What I'm probably going to do is I'm going to sell some old taxable funds, because I have investments in a taxable account, and divert it into my 401k. Because I've tax loss harvested, which is the next thing we're going to talk about, and I can offset a lot of those gains if I sell it again. And I can put money into an account, a Roth 401k that's going to grow tax-free forever. But for this, you do need to, because I'm not just saying this, you need to consult a CPA, because this is easily something you can screw up, okay? So the next thing is you want to consider year-end tax loss harvesting. Let's say you bought, AMC, and it's down 80, 90, 100%, well, not 100%, but it's down massively. Your other investments are going to be paying capital gains distributions. How are you going to offset that? Well, if you have a security that you sold at a loss, assuming you don't buy it back within 30 days after or 30 days prior, that doesn't make sense, but you know what I mean. As long as you don't trigger a wash sale, you can actually sell securities that you have unrealized losses on, realize the loss in this tax year, and you can use those losses to offset gains. Because even if you haven't sold any investments, you're still going to get distributions from your mutual funds. You're still going to get capital gains distributions. And you're going to have to pay capital gains tax on that. That's the beauty of distributions. You pay taxes on it, even though it's free money according to some clowns out there. So you may want to consider some tax loss harvesting opportunities. Now, this is another thing. You can screw this up. Okay, number one, you can't tax loss harvest in a tax advantage account. If you have money in a 401k, you're like, I'm going to tax loss harvest. It doesn't do anything. It's only in a taxable account. And you got to make sure that you don't buy an equivalent security. Basically, you can't buy back the same investment within 30 days. You got to be careful with that too. So I recommend, if you want to tax loss harvest, talk to your CPA. Okay? But it's a good opportunity. It can save you real money on your tax return, and it can be used to offset capital gains that you're probably going to have either from stock sales or any other kind of sales, or from capital gains distributions, which you have to pay tax on if they're in a taxable account, okay? Usually. There's always an exception in tax. It's not easy, it's always complicated. But generally, tax loss harvesting is a good thing, okay? So those are some end of the year tune-ups. The last thing, you want to make sure that your portfolio is allocated how you want it. Now, I have a very simple portfolio, so I don't have to worry about rebalancing, right? But let's say you want like a 60-40 portfolio. You want 60% stocks and 40% bonds. Well, you may want to look at your portfolio because maybe your allocation is massively drifted. And if that's the case, you might want to maybe rebalance a little bit, which if it's in a taxable account is also going to come with tax implications, okay? But you want to maybe consider rebalancing your portfolio to make sure you're in line with your strategy. Just go look at your portfolio. Make sure you don't have any cash just sitting there. Okay? Start thinking about taxes. If you need tax advice, contact a CPA. And yes, I am available. If you want tax advice, I will give it to you for a fee. And you will sign an engagement letter. And I will be offering tax services to all my YouTube fans this upcoming tax season. But you need to get ready now and make actions and moves, if necessary, before the end of the year. Okay? And this will save you an ungodly amount of money. Imagine if every time you got a dividend distribution, you never reinvested it. That's going to cost you a lot of money in opportunity costs over 30 years. Check your accounts, people. If you need help, call your brokers. Talk to you later. Cheers.